Hey, what's up guys? Alright, so this was one of those chapters of Black Clover where Tabata takes my predictions. He kinda confirms them, but at the same time he throws out the timeline when they're going to be presented to us. Because alright, I predicted that we wouldn't be getting, in my last review I predicted that we wouldn't be getting this revelation or like any new information on the whole plotline or subplot until at least another 3 to 4 chapters from now. And when we did only get like a little bit. But he said, no, fuck that. To keep you guys interested in this plot line, I am going to put it in at the very end of the chapter and drop a huge bombshell with it. I mean, I guess I should be kind of happy that Tabata at least half confirmed my suspicion or my predictions or my theory about Yuno in this chapter and when it comes to his heritage. But still, damn, I was so wrong on when he was going to actually end up talking about this. But anyway guys, this chapter actually had a lot of fun elements to it besides the whole big reveal we got at the end of chapter of Yuno. And I want to start things off by talking about the most fun thing that we all had to, alright, so we all had to agree that this beginning part of the chapter we actually get to see Charmy going on her rampage, her food rampage. That was kind of a clear reference to Big Mom from One Piece, that had to be. The only difference is the reason why the two of them end up going on the rampages and kind of the resolution or like the way to solve the rampages. Because alright, when it comes to Big Mom's rampage in One Piece, her rampage is usually because she's craving a certain food. And when she can't get to that food fast enough, she goes mindless, she goes on a rampage, starts destroying everything in her path, and she won't settle down until she's finally given that food. And that's when she calms down and goes back to her normal self. But with Charmy, the catalyst to her rampage was Asa threatening to take her food away. Now, another big difference between the two of them is the results of the rampage. When it comes to Big Mom, she just destroys blindly everything in her path. But with Charmy, her sheep was actually, as it was destroying everything in its path, it was also absorbing food into itself. Like it was like just making food disappear into itself so that Charmy can have even more to eat. Which kind of plays into the question of exactly how you would stop a rampage. Because like I said with Big Mom, if you give her the food that she's craving, like during the whole like end of the Whole Cake Island arc when she was on her rampage because she was craving the wedding cake, once she was given that wedding cake, she stopped her rampage in its tracks. But with Charmy, you can't just give Charmy food because she steals food as she's going on her rampage. So there's no real idea exactly how you would stop it. Now, interestingly enough, when we actually get to see Charmy activate her magic to summon her giant sheep, we see her use that circle of runes, kind of like how Mimosa did when she was using her healing magic a few chapters ago. So I guess I was kind of wrong about my idea that only people who have elemental type magic will be able to use those runes. I guess any of the characters we actually see training or saw being on the roster to train in the Heart Kingdom will actually use that type of runes in order to boost their magic. But speaking of training in the Heart Kingdom, we actually end up meeting assumedly the guy who trained Charmy, and his name is Patrov. And I actually really like the design for this character. He kind of reminds me of one of those farmer characters that you would fight in Pokemon, especially the newer one. And you know, it actually makes a lot of sense that he actually would have this kind of aesthetic, this whole farmer look to him, because as we see in the chapter when he uses his magic, he uses vines in order to try to stop Charmy on her rampage, which makes us assume that basically he must be the spirit guardian of the earth, or at the very least the spirit guardian of plants. So we have this guy who's the spirit guardian assumably of the earth, and we have Gaja, who we can assume is the spirit guardian of lightning, which means, because of the fact that we know in chapter 228 they reveal to us that there's 5 total guardians in the Heart Kingdom, we have 3 more left to meet: the Spirit Guardian of Fire, the Spirit Guardian of Water, and the Spirit Guardian of Wind. Now when Patrov tries to put an end to Charmy's rampage, he doesn't end up stopping it, and I can see a lot of people assuming that means that Charmy's actually stronger than him now, but I don't think that's the case. We don't exactly know how strong this guy actually is. We can assume pretty much that when he tried to stop her, he wasn't using his full strength, because I mean, why would he go all out against someone he considers a friend, especially someone he taught and considers a student at that? We can assume that he was pretty much holding back when he was going against her, so we can't offhandedly assume that Charmy at this point is stronger than him. So once Patrov fails to stop her, Real actually shows up and actually tries his best to stop her as well, and we can assume from the dialogue that basically Real and Charmy ended up training under Patrov together, which makes me wonder exactly who else trained under what other spirit guardians. I can automatically assume that Leo trained under the Fire Spirit Guardian and Lug trained under Gaja, but we don't know exactly who else trained under who. But anyway, we get to see Real, and if you saw the thumbnail for this video, you know what his new design looks like, and I gotta say, I love this new design. It actually looks a lot better than his old one, especially when it comes to the hair. I really hated Real's old haircut. I like this new one, I like his new outfit, and on top of his new design, based off the way Real uses his magic in this chapter, it seems like he's a lot more focused, a lot more controlled, because the way Real uses magic beforehand, I used to always kind of consider it to be very chaotic, very sporadic. So Real uses his magic to basically freeze Charmy in place long enough for him and Acid to go in there and put a stop to our rampage. And what we end up finding out after the rampage is over is that the reason why Real seems more mature now and he seems to have better control over his magic and has gotten actually a lot stronger is because of the fact that during the time period when he was controlled by an elf, he doesn't really have much memories from that. But the one memory he does have is the fact that he was saved by a very attractive black-haired lady who, when he draws a picture, we end up finding out, and we already knew because we read those parts of chapters, we end up finding out that it's actually Charmy in her dwarf form, which Asta points out to him that it actually was Charmy who saved him, which of course Real kind of laughs off because of the fact that Charmy looks the way she does, and she looks nothing like the character that Real drew in this picture. Now this makes me question exactly how Real doesn't know about Charmy's dwarf form yet, because like I said, we can assume that both of them were training under Patrov. So if they were both training under him, we can assume that she would have been training her dwarf form at some point. So it would make sense that he would have been aware of it at some point during his half-year training, but apparently he's not, which makes me think that either Patrov kept it a secret from him that she has this form, or Charmy didn't train that form at all. So we end up checking back in with Yuno and Belle at the end of the chapter, and we end up seeing them on their way to Hage Village. And one thing we end up finding out offhandedly in this chapter is that at some point William had actually met up with Yuno and gave him back the magic stone necklace that he had since he was a kid, which we all assume is like an heirloom from his birth parents. And on that note, we end up finding out exactly who Yuno's parents are, or not exactly who they are, but at least where he comes from. And the big bombshell that we get dropped on us in this chapter is the fact that Yuno is actually the prince of the Spade Kingdom. So basically what we end up finding out from this guy, who I don't think we actually ever get his name in the chapter, but once Yuno gets to Hage Village and starts talking to him, we end up finding out from him that basically before Yuno was born, the Spade Kingdom actually was a very peaceful, very loving place. Despite the fact that it was covered in snow all the time, people actually still liked to live there. And it was actually ruled by his father, who I believe the guy called him Master Seal. So we can all call him basically the king of the Spade Kingdom, King Seal. But anyway, when he was in charge, the place was very peaceful. But at some point after Yuno was born, the Dark Triad showed up and killed him in order to take over the Spade Kingdom for themselves. And we could assume that's the reason why Yuno actually was brought to Hage Village. Because if they were trying to take over the Spade Kingdom, they would need to get rid of the entire royal heritage. So Yuno would be on their list of people who they need to kill off. So by bringing them to Hage Village, an unknown village in the Clover Kingdom, as far away from the Spade Kingdom as they can possibly get, he would be assumedly safe. Now I'm sure a lot of fans are actually jumping their seats right now because of the fact that since I want to say the beginning of the series, there has been a theory that Yuno is actually from one of the royal families. Now, the theory was always that Yuno was actually from one of the families from the Clover Kingdom, which I never kind of believed because of the fact that with all the accolades and all the achievements Yuno has achieved over the series, that at some point if he actually was from one of the royal families in the Clover Kingdom, they would have put some kind of claim on him. They would have came out and said, hey, he's actually a member of our family. And the fact that none of them actually ever did go out and claim him despite all the achievements he's achieved over the series and his time as a Magic Knight kind of put that theory to bed. But I did always kind of think that if there is any truth to that theory, that it would be that he's actually from a country or from a different kingdom. Now I always assumed to be from a country like somewhere far away off the continent, kind of like how Yami's from a completely different continent. I thought it would be the same kind of thing with Yuno. But no, it ends up turning out that he's actually the heir to the throne of the Spade Kingdom. And finding out that he actually is the heir to the throne in the Spade Kingdom makes this a lot more of a personal fight for Yuno, and a lot more reason for him to be the one to actually take out one of the members of the Dark Triad, if not the boss of the Dark Triad himself, because of the fact that he or they were actually the ones who killed off his parents, assumedly. But at the same time, after this whole war with the Dark Triad's over, and they defeat Megikulo and free the Spade Kingdom, I have a hard time believing that Yuno will actually end up taking the throne himself, because of the fact that his main goal is to become the next Magic Emperor of the Clover Kingdom. And with the way Yuno's character has been written up to this point, I don't see him dropping that goal just so he can become the next king of a different country. He's going to basically pass that position on to someone else. Maybe we'll end up finding out that like he has a sister or something that's still alive and give her the throne. or finding someone else who can actually end up ruling in his place until he's ready to actually go over there. Because unless this whole fight with the Spade Kingdom and fight with Megakuro is the end of the series, and we're gonna get like some kind of like 10-year time skip in the future, I don't see Yuno giving up his dream of becoming the next Clover Kingdom Magic Emperor in order to take that throne. Now, this revelation is actually really cool, and I'm actually kind of glad that I was at least half right about my prediction about Yuno being a royalty from a different country. But more than I have questions about Yuno now because of this revelation, I now have a lot more questions about the Dark Triad. Because, alright, we can assume that at this point Yuno's what, like 16, 17? And we know that the Dark Triad took over when he was a baby, assumably before he was 1, at the very least when he was 1. So that means they've been in charge of the Spade Kingdom for about 15 to 16 years up to this point. So if they've been in charge of the Spade Kingdom for about 15 to 16 years up to this point, why is this last guy who we saw like 2 chapters ago just now getting the powers from a demon? Is it that there's like some kind of ritual that's time sensitive that they can only activate every like what 5 years or so? That's the way they get their powers? Or is it that like they just recently discovered a demon or found out exactly how to extract his powers for themselves? What's the situation with this? And there's so many questions I now have about the Dark Triad and why it's taking them so long in order to enact this plan that they have. There's so many questions I now have about the Dark Triad and exactly why it took them so long to go forward with this plan to take over the other kingdoms that they have. But that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be thinking about these theories and thinking about these questions for a long time now, at least until next week. But anyway, that's it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.